All right, guys, 5x5. So the idea with the 5x5 routine is checking multiple boxes of our fitness within reason, not overdoing anything. A lot of people do way too much with their training in the gym. They use it as a way to try to focus solely on body composition, but they're neglecting movement and overall wellness just to achieve a certain aesthetic. So the idea is doing a little bit less with a little more frequency for most people is going to be a much better bet in terms of maintaining long-term health and quality of life. So 5x5, we've got 5 different work blocks. Each one is about 5 minutes long. The first one is going to be a dynamic warm-up that prepares us for the workout ahead, gets the core temperature elevated a little bit, helps us mobilize the body some and limber up. Second block is going to be a neuro activation block. All that means is we're going to get the nervous system fired up. A lot of people don't do things that require them to really rapidly fire at a neural level. That's important for maintaining strength and just overall health and wellness long term. Third block will be a little bit of resistance training. We'll use some dumbbells. Some weeks we may switch that up, but typically speaking, we'll use dumbbells. Fourth block will be a little bit of conditioning, so we want to get a little bit of a heart rate bump there, so that'll be a good opportunity to challenge the heart rate some and to get some cardiovascular benefit there. And then we'll cool down with some dynamic stretches and a couple of things like that as we finish up. So everything is for time. The first block, the dynamic warm-up, we're going to do 2 rounds at a circuit. That's 5 exercises. We're going to spend about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds at each exercise. And then we're going to move on to the next. We'll go from one exercise to the next and we'll do 2 rounds total. So the first exercise that we're going to do is just a reverse lunge. So on these guys, you're going to step back, alternating here. Like I said, we're going for about 30 seconds, alternating left and right. You don't have to bang your knee on the floor. Only go to the depth that you're comfortable with, but you're focusing on coming up off of the leg that is in the front, okay? You can push off the back leg if you need to for a little bit of assistance. But again, we're just warming up, so don't rush yourself. Because we're doing everything for time, the idea is that you can pace yourself. You don't have to keep tempo with me. You can if you want to. You can go slower, you can go faster, whatever you need. Next one we're gonna do, heel sweeps. So we're gonna drop our butt backwards, pushing it towards the wall behind us, and reaching towards the heel of that front leg, sort of lifting the toe towards the face. The idea here is you should feel a little stretch in the hamstring on that front leg. Do your best not to really round your back if you can help it, okay? But the idea is to get a little hamstring stretch. And the reason we do this dynamic stuff is because we don't really want to hold stretches before we exercise necessarily. Third one is our frog stretch. Okay, so you're gonna get your legs open nice and wide here to this position, and you're gonna push yourself back until you feel a little stretch in your groin, trying to keep your eyes on the floor, take your time. So the idea is we don't really need to hold stretches before we exercise because sometimes that can set us up for some issues during the workout, but that's just a generalization. Going through dynamic movements, typically speaking, is a better way of going about warming up. Plus, that movement helps you get a little bit warmer as opposed to just sitting around holding a stretch. So these we call frogs. Bring it on together. Our fourth exercise is called a 90-90. So you're gonna sit with one leg bent out in front of you like so. The other leg is behind you like so. Gonna come up, try to drop your chest towards your knee. On this guy, you should feel the stretch in your backside of your front leg. So whichever leg is in front, the one that you're dropping your chest towards, you should feel a little stretch in your butt on that side, maybe a little bit in your hamstring. That's okay. The thing about mobility work and dynamic stuff is you'll feel it where you need it. And then our last one, T-spine rotation. So we're gonna go to this half kneeling position. Notice my opposite knee, the one that's on the floor, is planted, okay? It's alternating left and right, but the big thing here, make sure as you rotate over top of that front leg, you don't let that knee fall away from you. Keep it towards the middle of your body, all right? So we're just alternating. And on some of these exercises where we alternate, if you're more comfortable trying to do one side for about 15 seconds or half the time and then the other side, that's fine. So let's go back to the top. We got one more round on each of those exercises. Go for about 30 seconds at each. Starting with our reverse lunges. If you feel like you're getting a little bit more loosened up, a little bit more limber, you can definitely increase your tempo on the second round, because again, one of the primary focuses on a warm-up is to try to elevate your core body temperature. That just makes all the stuff that's supposed to happen at the cellular level during exercise happen more efficiently, so we can get more out of our workout. Cool. All right, next one, heel sweeps. You guys remember those? Drop in the backside. Again, try not to go to the point where you have to round the low back. If you have trouble with those, you can go to some high kicks instead, but just a little hamstring stretch. You should just feel it slightly on all these things. It's about getting a little stretch, not trying to improve your flexibility per se. And we're not holding these. Yep. I have extremely tight hamstrings, so I have to be mindful of not going too far or I start to round my low back and compromise my position. All right, about 30 seconds there. You guys remember that frog stretch? Man, it's harder to talk to you guys and keep from huffing and puffing than I thought it was gonna be. That's okay. So again, on those, the legs are open nice and wide. Trying to relax your lower body and use your arms to push yourself into that stretch. If you don't quite feel enough of a stretch, walk your arms closer towards your hips and push from that position, okay? But you're really just going in and out of the position, not holding for any extended period of time. And that goes for all of these. You guys like this music in the background? Can you hear it? Cool. Frog stretch. Next one, 90-90. So remember, dropping the chest towards the knee, alternating left and right. Try to sit up nice and tall as you transition. One thing a lot of people suffer from is desk texitis. So just spend a lot of time in the seated position, compromising our postural integrity. So the front side of our body gets tight, the back side of our body gets weak. So anytime you have an opportunity to practice good posture, think about getting your chest up nice and tall, getting your shoulders down and back. Take advantage of that, because if you don't, it'll get away from you quick. Half kneeling T-spine. Again, if you don't want to rotate, meaning if you don't want to alternate, that's fine. Do one side then the other. But these are good. Try to make sure that you keep your shoulders down and back as you're rotating. And also, just a reminder, try to keep that leg from falling out. Don't let it fall away from you. Cool. All right, so we got a little warm up going. My breath is elevated a little bit. My heart rate's just a little bit elevated. That's what you should start to get from a warm up. Heart rate's starting to increase some. Your core temperature starting to increase some. So that's good. So the next part, our next block is our Neuroblock. So the idea is to make short, intense efforts with simple things that will help bring the central nervous system online and get it ready to do more work, okay? So the first one we're gonna do is called a drop squat. So a drop squat is going from a nice tall position and trying to drop yourself down nice and quickly to a squat position, even just a half squat. You don't have to go all the way down here. I'd rather you be really fast just to that quarter squat position, because again, the idea is to fire up the nervous system, okay? So that's number one. Number two, in and outs. So these guys here are just gonna be fast, bringing our feet together and then back apart. Stay light on your feet. Lots of touches is the goal. Third and final one will be a couple of squat jumps here, and then explode explode, explode. So we're gonna do each one of those guys 2 more times for about 10 seconds. So just a few reps, max effort. That's relative. So just work as hard as you can. Try to be quick with your movements. And then we'll go ahead and transition into our resistance block after that. So first one, some drop squats. So nice and tall. Come down, come down, come down. Come on, let's get a couple of them. It's okay if you need more time between each rep. Just make sure you're getting down fast. And it's just 10 seconds, good. Next one, take about 20 seconds to recover because we want to be able to do some fast efforts on these guys. So take a little bit of rest. I've got my clock over here. So if you see me look in that direction, that's why. Heart rate's starting to get up a little bit more. Next one's gonna be our in and outs, okay? So a little bit of a bend in the knees and the hips. Shift it to the balls of your feet. 3, 2, 1, and go. 10 seconds. Time, good. Ooh, start to feel the hips firing up a little bit. And that nervous system is coming online now. So it's recognizing, okay, we're not just hanging out. We need to bring more hands on deck because there's work to be done. And again, this is tremendously important for maintaining fast twitch muscle fiber activation and some stuff like that. Again, stuff that we want to be able to do into the latter years of our life. Okay? Next one, a couple of squat jumps. On these, just focus on getting up nice and high. You can reach, you can jump. Doesn't matter. On these, we're not trying to go really fast between each rep. You just want to try to get nice and high on each repetition. Get a couple more if you haven't already. You can reset between each one if you need to. Okay? I can't jump very high, but I'm also really not trying to think about just getting up, trying to get my hips forward and get good and tall in that jump position. A little recovery. We'll do each one more time. Starting with our drop squats. So remember, getting down fast. It's okay if you're not getting super far. Even if you just come to that quarter squat position, faster is better. Deeper is not necessarily better on this, okay? Ready? 10 seconds. Reset between each one. 3, 2, 1. Down, down, down. Try to put some force into the floor. Notice how I'm kind of stomping? That's what we want. Good, relax. If your heart rate's up a little bit, that's a good thing. Mine is. A little bit of that coffee in my system. All right, you guys. In and outs, remember these guys, real fast. I'm gonna test myself on these, see if I can be quick. Feet together and apart. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Time. Woo! Last one we'll do, squat jumps, and then we're done with these, okay? So, again, strong effort, get your hips forward, get tall, try to jump high. I'm losing my mat position here. All right, you ready? Up, and then reset, okay? Up, reset. So the goal is come from the squat position and get up quick. Here, squat. Good. 1, 2 more, and you're done. Whew. Okay. So now we'll transition into our resistance block. So for the most part, when we do these resistance blocks, the idea is if you've got access to some heavier weights, that's great. Challenge yourself a little bit, but we're still gonna operate based on time. So 40 seconds of time under tension, meaning we want to set to take about 40 seconds. That's kind of the sweet spot if you're not trying to just account for the minutia. You're not really too worried about tracking your weight, tracking your reps, you're trying to get some benefit out of it from a resistance training perspective, all of the benefits that come along with that. Bone integrity, tendon and ligamentous integrity, muscle mass retention or hypertrophy, so meaning building muscle mass. These are all things that are good for us as we age and become more and more susceptible to decline if we don't stimulate them. If we don't work to keep those things strong and healthy, then the body will very quickly say, okay, no need. So on this guy today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a goblet squat. So it's just gonna be one movement when we do these blocks, but we're gonna do 5 sets where we work for about 40 seconds. So again, pace yourself as needed, and then we rest for 20 seconds. You can choose a modest weight. I'll choose something relatively modest so I don't embarrass myself on camera, but I may challenge myself on a couple of the sets. I've got a little bit more variety here in terms of weight selection than some people do, so use what you have, okay? It's not a big deal. On this guy, the goblet squat, starting nice and tall, dumbbell stays extremely close to the chest, eyes are gonna stay forward, and we're gonna work for 40 seconds, okay? Making sure you're pressing through your entire foot. A lot of people will get their stance really narrow, and then what starts to happen is they start to lose position, they start to compromise their lower back, they start to use a lot more quad, not enough hip, not enough glute, not enough hamstring. So we wanna get the best bang for our buck out of this movement, as much benefit as possible. So we're gonna take a stance that's about shoulder width. If your feet fall out naturally, I mean they point outwards a little bit, that's fine, let them do that. But we're gonna try to work for about 40 seconds total. I'm watching my clock. Breath in on the way down and exhale on the way up. When we're doing our resistance training, it's also important to keep the stomach nice and tight. 20% at least, meaning feel like you got your stomach about 20% as tight as you could possibly make it. As you get heavier with your loaded training, you may find that number goes up. You have to squeeze harder. But the whole idea of core musculature is to stabilize the spine and to transmit force through the body. So biggest part of that in terms of safety, long-term health, is the ability to support the spine in a neutral position. So make sure, again, you're adjusting your depth. Let's get ready to go again. Another 40 seconds, come on. At your own tempo, stay with me if you want to. During these breaks, you can get a weight change if you need to. So you can see these from the side a little bit. Making sure you're not going to a point where your butt starts to tuck under you or you round your low back, okay? So even if you can only do a quarter of a squat because you're limited, that's fine. And if you're not in a position where you can do a weighted goblet squat yet, that's fine as well. Just do a bodyweight squat. Put your dumbbell down. Just do bodyweight squats, that's okay. Good, about 40 seconds. So that's 2 rounds down. I'll do 3 more. Try to get all my talking out of the way before this conditioning, because the goal will be to get the heart rate up a little bit with the conditioning on this next block. All right, guys. So we'll go ahead and get our dumbbell. 40 seconds-ish. So that 40 seconds, sort of that sweet spot. Most people are probably gonna get somewhere between 8 and 12 reps over the course of 40 seconds, depending on how long you hold the top position, the bottom position, and how fast you're moving. So don't worry about the reps. Just focus on working for the full 40 seconds with a nice steady tempo. That's the biggest goal, or the most important thing to focus on, in my opinion, here. Cool, relax. 2 more. In terms of strength training and resistance training, a lot of people try to use that as a means of burning calories. Same thing with cardio, but then they end up setting themselves back quite a bit in terms of what they need to do to recover appropriately. And so we're trying to strike a happy medium here. And the idea is you should always feel better after a workout than you did when you started the workout. At least that's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people who train so hard that they feel like utter crap. They're spent. They have no mental energy, no physical energy left to execute all the other things in life that they need to, at least not to their fullest ability. We want to avoid that. This is supposed to make us better, not worse. It's supposed to be some stress relief, some good brain juice, meaning endorphins, all the chemical stuff that brings those feel-good feelings that we associate with a good workout. But again, walking that fine line of it being enough to elicit that response, but not so much that it's hindering us in other aspects of our lives in terms of our mental performance and taking care of responsibilities, okay? What is this, round 4? I think it's round 4, right? That's okay, we'll do one extra if it's not. Rather do one extra than one less. So again, 40 seconds, pacing yourself. And what you'll find is as we go through resistance blocks over the course of these workouts, is that if you need, then what you can do is you can start with the weight, especially if you've only got a limited number of dumbbells. So maybe you can get through the first 1 or 2 sets with the weight, but then you find that you start to struggle after that to maintain form, or your muscular endurance isn't quite up to par. You can move to doing the movement without weight. So you can mimic the same exact movement pattern once you feel like you've kind of hit that wall, or you feel like it's coming on, and just execute the same movement pattern but without weight, okay? Do one more set here, and then we'll move into a little bit of conditioning, okay? All right, here we go. Last one. Let's see how many am I doing in 40 seconds. Was I right with my 8 to 12? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, pretty close, 12, with just about a second to spare. So pace yourself. All right, you can get your dumbbell out of the way. You can rack it up if you got a rack, toss it off to the side, do whatever you need to do. So on the conditioning, the idea is 5 rounds, 20 seconds of work at one exercise, 10 seconds of rest, 20 seconds of work at our second exercise, 10 seconds of rest, and then back to the first exercise. So we'll repeat that for 5 rounds total. So we'll hit each exercise 5 times with our rest incorporated. That should be about 5 minutes, okay? So the first exercise is gonna be a skater. So the idea is side to side, okay? So what you can do to increase the challenge there is increase your tempo or increase your distance. It's up to you, all right? On these guys here, trying to maintain a small bend in the hips and the knees, because the biggest part of that is maintain balance, okay? You don't want to go falling. So if you also need to touch with your other foot to help you keep from falling and to maintain balance, that's fine. Next one, seal jacks. So it's like a jumping jack, except your hands come out in front instead of overhead like we do when we do a jumping jack. And again, if you need to increase, you can increase the tempo or you can slow it down. 20 seconds. So as these get more and more intense, go ahead and adjust your tempo to keep yourself in a position where you feel like you're actually working a little bit. You get your heart rate up some, okay? So if you want to increase your tempo, you don't have to jump out super far, but you want to push off, land, push off, land, push off, land. So you're pushing off one leg, landing on the opposite, okay? And you can make them small, okay? They don't have to be huge, but one of the things that I think is very important is to incorporate movements in this transverse plane. So imagine a tabletop. So side to side, rotational stuff, very important. We neglect a lot of that. Seal jacks, come on. You probably hear my mic bouncing around, but trying to make lemonade out of lemons here. Good. 2 rounds down, 3 rounds to go. Back to our skaters. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Side to side. And the idea is for these workouts to be able to take place in a 4x4 area, 5x5, let's say. So you can do them at home. You get to the office early, do them in the office. You can do them just about anywhere as long as you can access it on your phone or computer or tablet or whatever. Good. And I'll get better and better at keeping time with you guys, but generally speaking, we're shooting for ballpark, not necessarily the basket. My father always tells me, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Meaning, just because you don't think you can execute something perfectly, doesn't mean that an effort's not good enough. So, 3 rounds down, 2 rounds to go. Also important to note that if at any point during any of these workouts you need a little extra time, you need to take a sip of water, take it, it's okay. Again, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And make your goal to be able to do a little bit better each time, okay? And you should be able to repeat this workout 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 5 times a week, because it should not make you particularly sore. A little bit of soreness is okay. Too much soreness is not. So we want to make sure that we're kind of, again, we're walking that happy medium. 3, 2, 1, seal jacks. So again, stay tall. Try not to get caught. Coming down, relax. All right, we'll do each one more time. Then we'll transition to our last block. Very straightforward, very simple. A little cool down, okay? 3, 2, 1, a couple of skaters. Try to land on the ball of your feet, not your heel. If you have any issues with these, you can do a little lateral lunge and push, okay? It's easy, especially if you feel like your heart rate's getting a little bit too high. Not a problem. Stay in motion. A body that's in motion stays in motion. That's kind of our goal here. One more time on the seal jacks, and then we'll start to slow it down a little bit. Cool down, a little stretch, and that'll be that. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Last time here. So again, the idea of these workouts is to make you feel better when you're done than you did when you started. So relax. Making sure that we get the brain juice, making sure that we touch and check a couple boxes that we want to check in order to promote quality of life, not just quantity of life. And it's a good habit to instill. So we'll approach the cool down the same way we approach the warm up, except we're going to be holding these stretches a little bit more. Some of them are dynamic where we're moving side to side, but the goal now is breathing through the nose if you can, out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose. Quad and reach is our first one. Okay. So you guys can see that. All right. So stay nice and tall. Reach overhead. Just find your balance. All right. because we're still working for time, about 30 seconds at each exercise, 2 times through this little circuit here. Find some breath. And find a little hold. If you can't do that, it's okay. If you need to go to the wall, hold yourself against the wall, just kind of alternate side to side. Again, we're just going after a little stretch, trying to get the heart rate back down towards resting levels, getting our breath under control, and reminding our body that we don't have to be in that fight or flight mode anymore. We can relax, the danger's gone. Next one, open up nice and wide so your feet are outside of shoulder width. We're gonna do a little toe touch, opposite hand to the opposite foot or towards the opposite foot. It's okay if you can't get to your foot. You can reach just down your shin, but push your butt back and try to keep your legs straight. You should feel a little stretch in the hamstrings. You might feel a little bit in the inside of your legs and your adductors. All right, but stand up nice and tall. Squeeze your butt a little bit in between each rep. Okay, and you can hold that for a second or two. Again, because we're cooling down, we're not warming up. Focus on breathing through the nose. Next one, a little seated cross stretch here. So, one leg out, opposite leg is across. A little push with the arm to drive that leg across your body and to create a little bit of rotation through your midsection. Not a problem, pretty straightforward. Just alternate, and it's okay if you really find the stretch to be effective and enjoyable, hold it for a few seconds and then switch. We're not going for a particular number of reps on each side or anything like that. We're just trying to cool down and unload the body, which we've just loaded a little bit, okay? At this point, your heart rate should be coming down some. Next one, tic-tocs. So you'll lay all the way back, with the soles of your feet together, kind of like a butterfly stretch. And you're just gonna roll one leg on top of the other, trying to keep both shoulders and both hands on the floor. Just go as far as you can, comfortably. You don't have to try to hurt yourself here. So even if you can only get part way, just come to there, that's okay. But try to open your legs all the way up between each side, okay? So open, then close, all the way open, then close, like that, okay? Keep your stomach braced, that 20% rule, because we want this movement to happen in the middle of our back, also referred to as the T-spine, not in our lower back. So our mid-back is supposed to rotate and to flex and extend, but the lower spine is not supposed to so much. Last one we'll do, cat-cow. Pushing up and then dropping down. So here, trying to push the shoulder blades apart and push the back towards the ceiling. And then here, dropping the chest towards the floor and allowing the shoulder blades to come together. Okay? Just like all the other stuff that we've been doing on this little cool down circuit, if you need to, or you want to, just hold the position for a couple seconds. Even if you only do each position 2 times in 30 seconds, that's okay. Breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. And then go through it one more time, okay? A little quad and a reach if you can. Find a wall if you need to stabilize. Watching myself on the camera, it makes it more challenging. There's a term in yoga for a focal point or a point of focus. It's called a dristi. So find something in front of you that you can focus on that's not moving, and sometimes that'll help with balance. Moving over to our sumo toe touches, so nice and wide here. All right. If that feels good, again, you can come towards both and hold. All right. Just making sure that you're getting your hips fully extended, meaning up nice and tall. Squeezing your butt a little bit in between moving from left to right and vice versa. I hope my mic battery didn't die, because I haven't been able to check it. I hope my mic is still running, and I hope that you guys weren't too distracted by any bumping around. Remember our seated our seated cross stretch? So here, crossing one leg over the other. And if you can't do this, if you cannot perform that movement comfortably, you can just cross the leg and hug the leg and the knee towards the chest and slightly towards the opposite side of your body. You'll feel it either here in your glute, maybe a little bit in your hip, especially if your hips are tight. Try not to force yourself into a position that's painful, and you might feel some in your back, okay? So again, listen to your body. You want a little stretch, you don't want pain. There's a difference. Your body's telling you something is too much, it's probably right. But that's far different than making excuses and just not doing something because it's challenging. TikToks, laying all the way back, butterfly position, hands and shoulders stay flat, and then roll inside to side. Nice and easy. Take a couple more big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Big and slow. So bring the good gas in, blow the bad gas out. Good. Last one, cat-cow. So remember, knees under your hips, hands under your shoulders. Drop the chest towards the floor. Bring the shoulder blades together. Push your shoulder blades apart. Bring the back up towards the ceiling, okay? And drop down, shoulder blades together. Little arch in the back. Push the shoulder blades apart. Try to arch that back up towards the ceiling, okay? Just a few times each position. No problemo. That's it. Cool. So, again, 5x5, 5 different aspects of our performance and our physical fitness. Dynamic warm-up, neuro activation, some resistance/strength, endurance training, a little bit of conditioning or a little bit of cardio, and then a little cool down. Doing this consistently day after day will make a big difference in the way that you feel. It'll help you execute your days with better mood, more productivity, in my opinion, less stress. So I hope that you guys do this. I hope that if you followed along, try to do it again tomorrow, or if you're a little sore tomorrow or really sore tomorrow, give it a day. Try to do it 2 days from now, but I'd say try to get this done at least 2 to 3 times this week, especially if you're not doing anything else, and see where that takes you and go from there. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. 5x5.